Hello everyone, welcome to this session of Litmus Community Connect. Today we'll take a deep dive into what's been happening in the LitmusChaos community, including updates from KubeCon North America and India, project milestones, and a preview of some of the upcoming events. We'll also discuss how these developments are shaping the future of chaos engineering and resilience in cloud-native ecosystem. So let's get started. A little bit about myself. My name is Shayan. I'm a maintainer at LitmusChaos and also the community manager at Harness. You can connect with me on Twitter and GitHub using my handles. I've been deeply involved with LitmusChaos since the early days, from using manual commands when we used to use a terminal to watching it grow to become a CNCF incubating project. I'm excited to share our journey and discuss how you can also contribute to this growing community. So let's get started. Now, before we move into the updates of Litmus, there might be folks who are new to Litmus, so let me just give a very quick introduction to LitmusChaos. So Litmus is a cloud-native, cross-cloud chaos engineering framework. It sort of empowers you to inject controlled chaos in your applications and infrastructures, and that sort of helps uncover weaknesses and build resilience against real-world disruptions. So that is what the project generally is. Now, let's move on to KubeCon North America first. So this year we had an incredible opportunity to showcase Litmus at one of the largest gatherings of the cloud native enthusiasts, and we had a project booth where we talked to a bunch of people that included engineers, DevOps professionals, and also executives. These conversations sort of gave us invaluable insights into how LitmusChaos is being perceived and adopted in the broader cloud native ecosystem. Additionally, we also published a blog that sort of summarized how Litmus is gaining adoption in lower environments. We highlighted key takeaways, including the buzz around chaos engineering and also its relevance in modern DevOps practices. Organizations are leveraging Litmus to stress test their staging and pre-prod environments, sort of identifying potential vulnerabilities before they even reach production. So this sort of ensures a more robust and resilient applications, which paves the way for smoother rollouts in general and fewer incidents in live environments. So this blog isn't just like a recap, but also a guide of anyone interested in learning how chaos engineering can enhance system reliability in lower environments. So I do encourage you to read it for a much deeper dive. Finally, in KubeCon NA, we also had an amazing talk, which is titled "Can Your Kubernetes Network Handle the Heat? Building Resilience with AI Chaos," that was done by Google and Red Hat in combination. So it sort of demonstrated like a practical use case where AI tools such as Gates GPT are integrated with LitmusChaos to design like a tailored chaos testing scenario. So this process helps simulate unexpected network issues like latency injections, packet loss, and network partitions on specific namespaces and deployments. This AI model sort of analyzes the cluster setup, generates step-by-step instructions, and automate the chaos injection journey. So this saves significant time and effort for the SREs and developers, and an amazing tool like Gates GPT is out there which has some of its capabilities which you mix with Litmus to gain more power out of it. So then LitmusChaos sort of runs these tests, measure the impact on the services like latency spikes and so on, and then validates your cluster recovery. So this allows teams to identify and resolve failure points before they affect production. So this talk by Google and Red Hat highlights how combining AI and LitmusChaos enhances Kubernetes reliability testing while also addresses the real-world complexities of the same. So it's a great read. It's a great watch actually. So do go ahead and check out the talk from NA. It's still fresh, and I'm sure it'll have a lot of value for whoever's watching it. Next, we move on to KubeCon India. So this was the first KubeCon in India for those of you who aren't aware. So this was like a significant landmark event for LitmusChaos, and I think also for the Indian community in general. So we had over 3 action-packed days where we presented multiple sessions which focused on various aspects of chaos engineering, such as experiment creation, resilience probes, and also project updates. So starting with the first day, or like the day 0 actually, which was the maintainer summit. So we had a hands-on chaos engineering workshop where we used the Litmus SDK, and we had a BYOC, bring your own chaos concept. So the idea was to generate any sort of experiments from the crowd, or generate any sort of experiments that you could think of via the Litmus SDK. So we had a step-by-step instructions. We also had like deployed Litmus and sort of provided it as a SaaS throughout the duration of the day for people to try out. So we had Litmus hosted, and the audience could try it out, go through the entire workshop. We had a step-by-step guide, which is also available in the form of a GitHub repository even till today. So if you missed out on that, or if you are watching KubeCon virtually or watching it later on YouTube, you can definitely go ahead and try it out. So you will have a step-by-step instruction as to what products you like, on what technology you need. So you might have to download Golang, you might have to clone the repository, and once you're done with it, you have the binary accessible, then you can go ahead and generate those artifacts and use the Litmus SDK to actually bootstrap your experiments. And then finally, once we did bootstrap the experiment, we combined and connected it to the LitmusChaos hub, and from the hub we actually executed the experiment which was generated by us. On the following day, we had a lightning session actually on the LitmusChaos evolution. It talked about the latest innovation that we're doing, and also the security enhancements that we're doing, and a little bit on the graduation updates. And finally, we had a maintainer's talk on how you can safeguard your SLAs by taking care of the SLOs and SLIs correctly with the help of resilience probes. So also the highlight was Siddharth from Pokerbazi also did join our talk, and it was a great presentation from him. So if you did miss out on this one specifically, you can go ahead and watch it on YouTube as well later on. Yeah, that were the activities that we had on all the 3 days. Lastly, the response at our booth was really overwhelming. So we had over 200 visitors engaging in meaningful conversations about how chaos engineering can drive reliability and performance. So this engagement not only showcased the growing interest in the chaos engineering community within the Indian developer community, but also highlighted specific challenges and opportunities that were unique to this region. And the feedback we received were really amazing, and we do hope to add them as part of our future roadmap, and also bring more sort of help or support to the Indian community as well. Now, we had a lot of diverse audience in the booth, so they included DevOps engineers, site reliability engineers, product managers, executives, and so on. And each group had like a unique perspective and query. So for example, engineers were eager to know about the implementation best practices, while there were some platform engineers who were interested in understanding the ROI of chaos engineering, which I think they can probably take it back to their managers and so on. These interactions sort of underscores the importance of tailoring our messaging and resource to cater the various needs of the industry. And also one notable takeaway was the need for a more hands-on workshop to help teams get started with chaos engineering, because we saw a lot of people interested in it and also wanting to sort of do a POC in their internal organizations, but lacking the resources to get started with, because it might be a little daunting for newcomers, so they're always trying it out. So I think the ability of having a hands-on workshop that can help these teams, and also the ability to publish such videos on YouTube which might be beneficial to them is what we are going to do more. So this sort of reinforces our commitment to making chaos engineering more accessible and actionable for everyone. Now, some recurring questions at our booth were, is this a paid product? Which many were curious about, the distinctions between the open source LitmusChaos project and the enterprise offering. So we clarified that while Litmus is free and open source, additional features and support are available, but that's through the enterprise solutions. We also had questions on how do you get started. So we emphasized the simplicity of onboarding with LitmusChaos, supported by extensive documentation, beginner-friendly guides and wikis, YouTube videos, and we of course have the Litmus Dev channel on Slack. So if you have not joined it yet, so on the communities workspace, you can go and join the Litmus Dev Slack channel, where we talk about all these collaborations and anything dev related on Lit. Thirdly, we had this question on which teams should be using it and how often should they use it. So this sparked discussions about integrating chaos engineering into CI/CD pipelines, and also determining sort of the optimal testing frequency, because it might be costly if you're doing it very often, and it might be costly if you're not doing it very often too. So this cost in terms of both. So these sort of sparked a couple of discussions in the booth. And lastly, we had this specific use cases where like from resource exhaustion, CPU, memory, and so on, to dependency testing like network outages and so on. So the attendees were keen to understand how they can test a unique scenario, because everybody had their own specific unique scenario. So we had a bunch of this, we had a lot of these conversations on individually how they can integrate Litmus in their specific scenario. So these integrations, this interaction sort of highlighted the importance of continually refining our resources to address these queries more effectively, and sort of maybe add them as part of the FAQ and so on. So right now we did mention a lot about LitmusChaos, what happened in KubeCon India and KubeCon NA. But I think a lot of the new folks here might not fully be aware of what the product actually looks like and how it performs. So I'll just give a quick overview of the product. So it's like I mentioned, it's a cross cloud native chaos engineering tool. So you deploy the product in your cluster, and once you once the product is deployed, the services are exposed, and that's how you can access its front-end URL service. So once you access the front-end, there should be a login page similar to this. Once you do login with the default credentials, we have the revamped user experience as part of Litmus 3.x. So this user experience actually tailors you to add multiple users to your project, has a overview screen which you can use to sort of gather information what's happening all around your project. Like if you are doing multiple chaos and multiple clusters, this is like a consolidated single area which we call chaos center, which helps you sort of consolidate all the different information in a single view. So you can get all the different chaos experiments, all the different environments, all the different chaos hubs, and different users that are part of your project in a single source. So this is where most of the experiments will be there. We also have this concept of environments for the chaos infrastructure organization. So basically it's a way for you to consolidate the different infrastructures that you create. So it's like categorizing different infrastructures based on a single environment. So you can create a pre-prod or a prod environment, and inside the individual environments you can have as many chaos infrastructures as you would want to have. And these individual infrastructures are what helps with discovery of your clusters. So you might have your application sitting in one cluster and your Litmus deployed in the other cluster. So you might have to have a chaos infrastructure deployed in one cluster and then use external tooling like Litmus ATL or something else to connect the other applications in the other cluster. So all this sort of information will be present up here in the environment section, and that is how you can target multiple applications residing in multiple clusters. We also have the Chaos Studio, which is the scenario builder of the Chaos Center, I would say. So this is where you can combine multiple faults, either parallel or in serial, and then create multiple scenario. So the first step of the journey would be to create a hypothesis around what you would want to do, and then sort of visualize and translate that hypothesis into an actual experiment via the Chaos Studio. So once you do create like a practical scenario out of it, this is where you would probably want to sort of think if it's a cron job or if it's a single running job, what would be my environment tunables, how would I tune my experiments, and so on. And then once you're done, you can basically schedule the chaos injection, and that should happen. Lastly, we also have this concept of resilience probe, which was added as part of 3.x, which is like turning them into first-class citizen, or sort of treating them as a single source of global resource. So you can generate, you can create probes which are like pluggable events in your chaos injection journey, and then you can mark them as global. So once you create them, you can use them in any experiments that you are scheduling or creating. So right now we have 4 types of probes. So it's HTTP, command probe, Prometheus probe, and Kubernetes probe. So you can create any sort of probes that you would want to globally, and then you can attach them, one or multiple of them, in different modes. So we have SOT, EOT, start of test, end of test, continuous mode, on chaos, and so on, edge mode. So you can choose the different modes and also the type and combine them into a specific scenario which would be beneficial to your situation. Now let's move on towards graduation, like the steps that we're taking. So as we aim for CNCF graduation, we have been focusing on critical areas to meet the necessary benchmarks. So we'll start with the tech docs analysis. So we had identified 12 issues as part of the CNCF technical tech docs analysis, which were identified by the CNCF technical writers from within our existing documentation. We are also working actively with the community to resolve them. And that's a work in progress, but we did finish the tech docs analysis, the analysis part of it. So we are working on the solving part of it. So we are it's a work in progress right now. We also did the security audit with help from 7A Security, which is also completed a while ago. We also inaugurated the LitmusChaos Con, which is the flagship event of the Litmus community. It happens every year on September, so this upcoming year it will be the second time this is happening, and I urge everybody to join and submit CFPs and make it for the community, by the community, and just have that community essence alive for this conference. So yeah, that's really something we all are looking forward to. And lastly, the mentorship programs the Litmus has been participating in, the various ones including LFX, GSOC, Open Source Academy, and so on. We are working towards taking part in multiple areas and working on different activity as we aim for the CNCF graduation. Now, as part of the CNCF Tech Docs analysis, we identified key areas for improvements to enhance documentation, clarity, and usability. So these included establishing single source documentation, removing obsolete websites, and also defining a clear getting started path. We are working to eliminate duplicate install instructions, align the table of content with content headings, and also relocate instructional material from concepts to the user guide whenever necessary. Not really everything, because we want to retain certain content in the concept section specifically. That's generally how Kubernetes does as well. So we are borrowing a lot of the idea and the creation from there. And also we do plan to include like consolidating the community resources, revising the user guide procedures, reducing reliance on screenshots, and also integrating critical functionality documentations documented in the blog post into the official documentation, because as you know, it's like the community has been posting a lot on the different blogging channels specifically, and we'd want to integrate some of the good newer concepts or newer resources from the blogs into our actual documentation as well. And as part of the security audit, we implemented several key improvements to enhance security and reusability. We made login API error message generic. We enforced strict validation for usernames and passwords. And we also introduced the reset password as a mandatory step for first-time logins. Role-based access control were added for API key management, inviting users and also fetching project members. So we added course validation for both the GraphQL and authentication servers, and deprecated the editor role while introducing the executor role. The JWT secret creation is now supported during Chaos Center installation alongside network policy YAMLs and HTTP environment-based support. We upgraded the Go version from 1.20 to 1.22 across all modules, removed Kubernetes client code dependencies from GraphQL, and added Git leaks in PR checks. So finally, we did include environment support for enabling and disabling the GraphQL introspection. We have also been participating in the several mentorship programs, as mentioned before, including LFX and the Open Source Contribution Academy 2024 in South Korea. So we did achieve significant contribution across multiple terms. In LFX Term 1, we introduced support for multiple project owners, enhanced the Litmus TTL with E2E tests, CRUD operation for probe commands, and also package manager availability. Chaos Center improvements included implementing E2E test cases and also addressing the CVE issues. For Term 2, we added support for upgrading agents in Litmus 3.x. In Term 2, we added support for the upgrade agent in Litmus 3.x, GitHub support for Azure Git, and also grouped Chaos infrastructure by environments. Additionally, we revamped the Litmus Helm agent and completed the UPI image migration. Under the Open Source Contribution Academy 2024, some of the notable achievements were integrating distributed tracing using OpenTelemetry, adding a local development guide for Chaos Center, creating an operator interface for resilience probes, developing new Chaos experiments for AWS RDS, and also improving the HTTP client functionality. So these are some of the issues that were already closed. There's a couple of more amazing functionality out there which are not yet closed. So if you head over to the Litmus repository in the project section, you'll find the Open Source Contribution Academy Kanban board, from where you can track the different issues and PRs that are currently being worked on. Some of the project contributions that I would like to highlight is the support for multiple project owners. So this is a feature that enabling collaborative management of projects. So this was done by Aryan Bokhare, and it's a kudos to the amazing work he's been doing in the project as well. Next, I'd like to move on to the distributed tracing, which I talked about before as part of the open source academy contribution. So this enhancement sort of provides a deeper insights into the system behavior during the chaos experiments, and it was done by Namkyu Park. So kudos to that. Next, I'd like to move on to another great contribution, which is the CRUD support for resilience probe, because probes were introduced as part of 3.x, but it wasn't really the CRUD operations weren't really supported in LitmusCTL, so it did simplify a lot of the probe management via the LitmusCTL. So thanks to Shivam Purohit for his contributions. Lastly, we'll also like to mention the upgrade agent support, which was removed, like technically not removed, which wasn't there as part of the 3.0 release. So later on it was added to the later versions of 3.x, where we brought back the upgrade agent support. So it sort of streamlined the upgrades for LitmusChaos users and helped seamlessly upgrade the schema and also the entire process. So thanks to Karthikeya Saxena for his contributions to upgrade agent. So if you are also wondering how you would also want to contribute to this project, then we welcome you to do so. We welcome all sort of contributions. It's not specifically development contributions, but if you want to develop a feature, do a bug fix or any sort of other improvements, then always use the issue channel. There's a couple of labels that you can use. The maintainers are always hanging around, so we'll help you out with navigating to specific part of the project, assigning you, guiding you. So there's a couple of opportunities that you can find in the issues itself. If not, you can try out the project and just feel free to create any issues if you face any. Hang around the Slack and find out any issues that you can work on. There's a documentation contribution which we are doing as part of the tech docs analysis, which you can also take up. There's a couple of issues created already in the Litmus docs repo, so you can work on that. And lastly is the feature reports and the bug analysis. So if you find bugs and feature reports, if you find bugs in any of the sub projects of Litmus, then feel free to work on those. And if you have any sort of feature reports like proposals per se, so if you will find a couple of examples in the Litmus repo itself. So like for the AWS RDS or also for the document DB. So generally contributors want to create a proposal, and then they review that in the weekly or the monthly calls we have, and the maintainers go through the same, and then they sort of approve or sort of suggest a newer updated version of it, and then once they approve, feel free to start working on the same. So there's a couple of ways that you can contribute to it, and I've just highlighted a couple of repositories at the bottom. So if you're interested in fault creation, if you want to contribute to creating newer faults, then you can check out the chaos charts repository. If you want to contribute or like explore more of the how the faults are running, so you can check out the chaos workflows or the Litmus Go repository. If you are more interested in how the helper functions are working in Litmus, then you can check out the testing tools. And lastly, if you're a UI developer and you want to work on the UI side of things, then you can check out the website LitmusChaos repository, which is the hosted version or like the web version of Litmus. You can also take a look at the Chaos Center part of it. So in the Litmus repo itself, in Chaos Center, you'll find a web folder which might also be helpful for you to contribute. So we currently have two different calls. One is called the Litmus Contributors and Maintainers Meeting, and the other is the Litmus Community Meeting. So the Contributors and Maintainers Meet is more of a technical discussion which happens every second and fourth Thursday of the month, and it is where the maintainers and the contributors and also the community members join, and we generally discuss the roadmap, the governance, the project proposals, like not the project but like the fault proposals or any of the bug fixes or issue proposals and things like that. So it's very technical. But the other one is the Litmus Community Meeting, which happens on every third Wednesday of the month, and this is more of a non-technical one. So if somebody has a technical doubt, of course we are going to help them out, but the theme of the call is more of a non-technical one, where we generally discuss all these different kind of events or project updates which are non-technical, and also blogs and what the community has been working on, some of the community focused updates and things like that. So these are the two calls, the cadence of the two calls that happens as of now. So in a month we have 3 calls, one on every second and fourth Thursday and one on every third Wednesday. So if you are wanting to join, then please feel free to join. So there's an invite link in the Slack channel itself, or you can also